Hey everybody, it's been a few days.
It's been a few days, yeah, but we've made a lot of progress.
Yeah. We both look a little
rough
today.
We're working.
Because we've had, quite a bit going on. And Deb's been working hard in here on the floor here, getting ready to paint the floor. Of course, now she's been filling it with Bondo wood filler. And she's going to sand on it a little bit while I'm doing a few other things.
Lightly sand.
Yeah. And then we're going to paint the floor. Why don't you go ahead from there and tell us what we're doing?
I'm going to paint the floor. I bought some paint from It's Kills Porch and Patio Floor Paint, low luster enamel. It's ideal for wood and concrete porches. And I got it in a slate gray. Because, gray's kind of our accent color.
Yeah.
So after I get it painted, my next step, which we've got a little section painted back there in the back, my next step will be marbleizing it with a white marble look. It'll be opposite of the countertops.
Yeah, you can see how she did the countertops here. This was, how long ago has that been, dear?
Close to 2 years.
Yeah.
And
so this is going to be kind of opposite of that.
Yes, it'll be the dark gray floor with the white marbleization, just to lighten it up a little, give it a little bit of color variation, because as you know, a solid color shows everything.
And it's going to add some pizzazz to it as well.
I hope so.
Yeah, sure enough. Well, I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to be a whole lot better than what we had here before. And that paint is really nice. I'm going to step back here and show them this right quick. Oh, and while I'm walking back here, we will give you an update on the van, because I know a lot of people were concerned about that. She went ahead and painted this section of the bathroom floor right here.
I don't think you ever showed them where you trimmed out the max pan.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
Okay.
I'm making a new hatch cover. This is a hatch. Boy, our bathroom is...
I wasn't back there this morning. You were.
Okay. Anyway,
don't look at me.
This part of the floor is removable, so we can service the shower pump underneath there. And we've got a new board cut, and it's also been painted. I do have to fine-tune the trim on it before we drop it into place. But this is how this paint come out. It covers really, really well, and it dries really quickly, doesn't it?
Yes, that did back there. I'm hoping this will too, because if this will dry that quickly, I'm going to go ahead and put one coat on it tonight or this afternoon. And then tomorrow morning put another coat. And then I'm ready to start marbleizing. There
you go. I'm getting excited about that, that's for sure. While we're back here, I'll show you how we went ahead and trimmed out around the MaxxAir fan. Now you don't see all those raw wires anymore right here. And that was fun. I didn't want to use the flange, the cover that came with the unit. We trimmed out in the former trailer we had in the red trailer, but this is what we did as well. And I wanted to match that here, so then maybe you can see a little bit better if I hold the camera like that. And the reason why we've got screws on this center section here is because that's the wiring chase where all the wires run down. If I ever need to get in there and service that, or possibly tap into that wire right in there to, run another light or something like that, it'll be easy for me to do that, and then we just simply touch it up a little bit. Also, for the longest time, y'all had been looking at a raw edge right here. Went ahead and trimmed this out as well. I still have a little bit to do right up here. I've got to get my compressor out and shoot this board on. It's just kind of laying there. This was the final trim piece to finish that out, because before you saw framework right there, and the same thing back over here. And then once I do that, then Deb will go ahead and finish painting this the rest of the way up. Now here again, this trim piece that we put here, we screwed it on as well. And the main reason why is because this panel, the white panel that is behind the board here, this white panel here is removable. And the reason why it's removable, because that's where all some plumbing and wiring is. And in order to get that panel off, to get to the plumbing and wiring, if we ever needed to do that, we'd have to be able to take this trim off here. And so we went ahead and just simply screwed it on, painted over the screws. I know it's not the prettiest in the world, but it's serviceable, and that to us, that's you know, fairly important. Same thing here. We did it here as well to make it easier to get into stuff right here on this trim piece here. So anyway, a little bit of touch up, you know, right up in here, all around this, and that will be all completed. So things are starting to wind down a little bit, aren't they?
If I get this floor done and we finish that little thing there, and we might get the trash chute cut in. We've got a...
Oh yeah, something else. Forgot about that.
Yeah, a friend of ours, well, one of our YouTube followers got me a hole saw.
An 8-inch hole saw.
An 8-inch hole saw, and we're gonna have a trash chute right in here somewheres. Right. And of course the trash is underneath.
Yeah.
And then we'll make something to cover it, because this will be inside the cabinet.
Well, yeah, and we've got some ideas on how we're going to do that. So I'll be building a shelf that goes underneath here that lifts the trash can up, where it's just barely clearing, you know, the underside of the countertop. So we'll have a nice little trash chute there and not have to pull the trash can out each time. And that'll give Delilah more room, because her food and water is where we keep that down here. So, you know, little things, just little things.
It's almost there.
To make it easier. How'd you like the way I spun around like that?
Oh, I love that.
Anyway, now let's talk more about the van before we go. First, I want to play you a clip that I shot with me and my buddy Rich a couple of days ago. So let's go ahead and watch that, and then we'll come right back.
Yes, sir.
All right, this is a follow-up from yesterday.
Yes.
And Rich found it, right? You found it?
I can't take credit.
Well, anyway, we hope this is what it was. That's all I can say. Anyway, I finally got the motor cover off and everything. And let me see if the injector, let me see if I can hold this light and do this too. The injector is back down under there. If you look closely, maybe you can see it around all these wires. Let me see if I can move. No, that's kind of rigid there. But let me see if I can get in here. But you can see the injector right down there. It's got the little blue cup on it. Well, and this is number 8 cylinder back here. Well, when I finally got the motor cover back and everything, I just lightly tugged on the wires, and this is the pigtail that plugs in, and it just pulled right out, and all I did was lift it on this, and that was it. And this thing just pulled right out. So we're going to first plug that right back in and see if that was the problem. See if that's why we had a dead circuit. Anyway, we'll get back to you in a minute. All right, so that's what we thought it was. That's what we thought it was. We plugged it back in. We got it to plug in there, and we thought that it was running correctly. So what we did, we went and got a new connector, and we wired in this new connector, and that connects to the fuel injector, and plugged it all back in, had it all wired up. I was all excited, fired it up, and we still had a dead cylinder, you know. So I stewed about it most of the day, and I kept thinking about other things, and then finally, you know, some people said it could be the coil. Had a lot of folks give some advice and helpful hints, and we pursued some of those, but in the end it was fairly simple, and we found it by accident. This is after we considered getting a new coil, after we considered getting a new injector, and we didn't do either one of those. I tested the coil by simply unplugging the spark plug wire out of the spark plug and sticking a Phillips head screwdriver up in it so it'd make contact with the terminal, and then, you know, had it close to the body, had Deb fired up while I washed, and man, it was shooting a big old long arc. So the coil was great, so we were getting plenty there. So then I thought, well, maybe I didn't get my connections real good when I hooked up, you know, when I spliced in the new connector. So I started peeling the wiring harness back so I could get up deeper into the harness to get a better run of wire back up in there to tie into. And lo and behold, when I started peeling it back, I found one of the leads of the actual that was actually embedded in the wiring harness. One of the leads that go down to the connector was actually broke, making no contact. And I thought, all right, that's what it is. So we, got some extra wire, patched it all up, hooked it all up, and now she's running perfect. So in the end, it cost me around $50 is what it cost me by the time I bought the new connector.
$50 in 3 days.
$50 and 3 days of frustration, not wanting to keep throwing parts at it. So, and just so you'll know what I did, I used those crimp style butt connectors that also are heat shrink crimp connectors, and I went over them with heat shrink tube. So yes, I went the extra mile there. And down the line I got to thinking about that. Well, if the wire broke up inside the wiring harness, what caused it to do that? So I got to thinking, down the line we might need to consider replacing all of the fuel conjectures, all the fuel injector connectors, now that we know what's involved. But the fun part was getting the motor cover off,
removing the motor cover
so we could get to it.
Yeah.
And the other fun part was getting it all back on.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, the van is running great. We cleared all the codes. There's no more codes showing. She's doing fine, and it all boiled down to either the connector not plugged in properly. It was probably a combination of the two, and how it ended up not being plugged in properly, I do not know. How in the world did it get unsnapped? Someone at one time, before we had it, and we've had it for over 5 years, obviously someone at one time had been in there doing something. So that's all I can figure. And it just happened to be working okay all this time. So anyway, but it's fixed now, and we may have a 2-day project one of these days. I mean, a regular mechanic could do it in, probably 2 or 3 hours. But
yeah, but the parts are cheap and the labor would be expensive.
Yeah, the parts are inexpensive, and the labor would be, out of sight. So it is something we can do. It's just having plenty of tranquilizers, right?
That's what Fireball's for.
Oh, yeah, but you don't want to be drinking Fireball while you're working on the engine.
Make it go smoother.
Oh, you think so?
It might.
Anyway, the van's working great. Everything's fine. We're kind of sort of on track. I did lose 2 or 3 days of what I wanted to do on the trailer because I was messing with the van. Deb still was plugging away with what she could and helping me at the same time. She is a real trooper. Oh, and one other thing. Previously, I had blamed the possibility of the issue on maybe a rodent climbing up in there.
Yes.
So I have to apologize to Brad for accusing his rodents on his property that they could be the culprit.
Yeah. And we apologize, Brad.
Yeah, we apologize, Brad. Your rodents are the best.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to let you go for now. This is Bill and Deb with I Ride Tiny House Adventures. And boy, howdy, how many times have we said this? We're not camping.
We are living.
We are definitely living. Y'all get out there and do some living. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.